a difference because there's like 40, 50-year-olds out there that are being more successful than us on YouTube right now. I had just gotten back from the JET program teaching in Japan for a couple years. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life because that was my end goal in college. Don't choose an end goal that can only last 5 years. Ever. I came back because I wanted to get married to my Aki. And she lived in Arkansas. I moved to her. I got a job basically doing an IT position. So I actually was able to get some experience with the software and the hardware that you need to know in order to actually do YouTube, like Adobe Premiere Pro or Sony Vegas, Sony Vegas. I'm tired. And Photoshop, stuff like that. And then I noticed, like, because this was also when the AV Gym was like at its super peak, and I saw videos like him or people like Braille Floss who were like, "Oh, what's the Tanuki suit? It's some kind of magic bear. They must have been smoking crack." I'm like, no, actually, there's all this really cool information about what it is and what it's from, and so I basically credit them for giving me the idea to get started. And
so you basically started to prove that Brent Foss was an idiot.
No, because I love Brent. It's
I love Brent too.
It's just like there was a market there that was really untapped, and what I wanted to do is make people feel intelligent for being a gamer at the beginning, or being a nerd, or something like that, because it all comes from somewhere. I did that a little bit. I started posting on screwtech.com because that's another piece of advice I'd love to give you guys. Find a small community for your content, then build up, because you got to get that backbone base. From that, they started front paging my content, but would never feature me. Yay. From there, Matt was like, "Hey, you do something similar that I do. Do you want to like team up and become the super friends of YouTube and educational content?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude." Did that for 6 years. Just recently got out about 3 months ago, and ever since then, I'm trying to figure some things out. But I've always held true to my end goal, and that is you need to learn. Like, you should learn something by the time you're done watching one of my videos, and you should be enjoying yourself doing it. And that's another thing too. Always stick to your guns and what you're passionate about, because the moment you give that up and your passion's gone, you might as well just kill your channel, because it's just gonna feel empty and hollow.
There you go.
Yay, that's me.
Thank you. Question.
Hello.
Hey.
What is the craziest thing you've done for YouTube, like for one of your videos?
I really don't want to bring it back up because it's been 4 years and I'm trying to let it die.
I've done a lot of crazy stuff. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I recently visited Japan's most haunted cave.
Dude, that was so cool to see.
Which was scary as hell. I single-handedly counted 170,000 votes for my top 100 manga video, which took me 2 months to do, so never again. Something crazy. I cycled like 120 miles across Japan with my friend on a bicycle while making videos for 4 days. I flew here 16 hours. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I personally don't have a lot of like crazy, like physically crazy things because, you know, most of my videos are in my room talking. But like every now and then when I go out and vlog stuff, like it has to be crazy for it to be entertaining because otherwise we would watch it.
There was that one time that Aki choked you with like rotten ramen.
Oh, well, that was my story.
Yeah, that was her video. Oh yeah,
You're welcome, YouTube.
Yeah, actually, yeah, the most physically enduring things I've ever done for YouTube was on her channel.
The things I make him do sometimes, because I guess like my stuff, I do a lot of like
skits.
Yeah, skits, and I don't know, I'm just weird. And you know, that was one of the stories I was going to mention for stuff that I did that was pretty crazy. He gave me like ramen from Japan, and it's called zombie ramen. What the hell is this? Zombie ramen? Like, is it like for the undead? Like, okay, throw it in a graveyard. Yeah. So then I decided to make a video on it, and then if you guys ever watch that video, the title, if you ever miss it, is called "So I Tried Zombie Ramen." ... I poured it into the boiling water, and this chunk of white stuff then went in there. And then, like, I remember Joy was still recording, I cut this piece out because I was staring, contemplating what to do for like the rest of this video. And I was like, my health or dim views?
See, when I saw that and you said, oh, it's expired, I was like, I'm going to be directly responsible for killing him.
Yeah, and then Joey, he read it, he's like, so this is expired. And I was like, we're gonna do this. We've committed. So that was one. I think the second one, I publicly went to an ice rink just as a terrible cosplay of Yuri, what I couldn't say his last name for the longest time, so I just said Yuri Placenta. Because it sounds like placenta. I won't be surprised if that's the Russian term for it. So yeah, I went over like that, and multiple times did my wig keep coming off, and I scared like all the other ice skaters that were on the ring. And I don't know how to ice skate, so there's even one point, you'll see it in the video, where I'm just trying to skate straight. And this like 13, I think she was 12 actually, like 12-year-old girl next to me, who is amazing, who turned out to be a fan of mine, who just happened to be there the same day, out of the very little people that were there, was like, let me show you the ropes. She's like, just go forward. And for some reason, my legs just split, and then I just, my groin just like hit the ice. So it's like, it's like, so I don't know, YouTube's kind of weird in that sense that it puts you like in these situations that you kind of have to go out of your comfort zone all the time. But then, you know, obviously like, whether that's suffering, if you can laugh at it at the end, it turns into something beautiful in the video, as long as you're safe at the end with the zombie ramen. So yeah, and then I just share that online. I think that's probably two crazy things. I've probably done something. Oh, the Yaoi Cafe. Yeah, that one.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't do anything.
I put background music, but rip that out, and it's just a quiet room, and I'm staring at two guys sharing a pocky, and I just have to sit here. I'm like, what do I do? So yeah, no, they even asked like, can you tell us like who would you like to be the dom? And I was like, you. Go for it. They're like, okay, what's the scene? I'm like, I have to write a story now? Like, can you do something with high school? Because that's
You're supposed to go in there with your fanfics, Aki.
Yeah, I didn't know what
Plus
to
that's
expect.
your Wattpad account.
Yeah, no, it was it's like I went in there and then they just asked things like that, and then I used like a lot of terms that I knew was like tropes in Yaoi. So one of them was kabedon, which is like when you slam up against the wall and like other person is there. So it's like improv, surprise me. And the way that we smashed him up against the wall was something that I didn't even expect. And I was just drinking my orange juice, just staring at this whole thing. Again, there's no sound. It's just that. But I added background music to make it less awkward. But everyone's just filming me dead silent, like, I'm just staring at two people almost kissing. So yeah, no, that one was probably the craziest thing that I've experienced. Yeah.
Someone's missing their lipstick.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Oh no, did you go?
Hey Joey,
Yeah.
it's my turn. Oh, I thought you said you didn't want to bring it up.
no, I might as well address it. So, hey, I'm gonna say a set of words. Don't look it up online, okay? You promise?
Which means look it up online.
Who remembers a 4-year-old video called Goombah Got Back? You're a trooper. You're a trooper.
I'm sorry, but I literally watched that before I came to Washington.
Alright, context. It is time for some context. I want everyone to record this so I can put this to bed. The reason why that video was made is because I was tired of watching my wife crying because people were shaming her design. Her design, not mine. Sometimes when you watch a loved one start to break down on a constant basis and not want to do YouTube anymore, you get kind of angry. I got kind of angry. I got super angry. And then my buddy Living Tombstone gave me a horrible idea. He's like, hey, could you get your character to sing Baby Got Back? I'm like, dude, I can one-up that. I'm so young.
So look it up.
Look it up and cringe into a black
Put
hole.
that in your cringe compilation.
for the record, I didn't go out to just search for it. I was trying to look like, I don't know why, because I was going to see you soon. And I was like, I kind of want to see their wedding video because I wanted to, but I couldn't find it. And I clicked on that.
It's been re-uploaded like a dozen times. Like I think Silva Gunner made like 6 remixes out of it. Something like that. It became a meme.
Yeah.
It became a horrible meme. And I'm like, no, please. Look, the thing is that no matter how big or small you are, be careful with your choice of decisions, even because like this happens especially if you're green, like you've just gotten started and negative comments really get to you. You gotta keep going and ignore that essentially, which is going to be the hardest thing you're going to do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm so glad only 2 people raised their hand. It means it's dying finally.
You may have revived it.
Hey, I prefaced it with, this was a mistake. This was my state of mind. Maybe haters should stop making my wife cry. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is more towards Joey, I suppose. How did it feel doing like videos with the digital YouTuber and like and knowing like for one she has more subs than you apparently. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
I never heard of her until I watched her in your video. So. And then like also meeting her at a kanji challenge.
Oh, yeah. No, meeting her was really weird because the way I met her was very, it was very random because I made a video on her. I found her when she had like, maybe like 15,000 subs, like crazy small. And now she has like, what, 2.3 million subs, something crazy like that. But basically, I made a video on her, and then, basically not really like crapping on her or anything, but being like, wow, this is kind of awesome, and I'm surprised nobody has seen this yet. So I basically made a video saying like, these kinds of YouTubers are going to be the next generation of YouTubers. Guess what? I was right. Because now there's like 30,000 virtual YouTubers,
Dude,
or something crazy like that.
Old Man Tanaka is my favorite.
Yeah, there are so many, like, think of any type of character and there's a virtual YouTuber for it.
I did it first.
So, I made a video on that, and then that obviously got her a lot of attention from my audience, and a ton of my audience went and subscribed to her, because she's funny. And then the team behind Kiss and I found that video and then emailed me and said, oh, you're the reason why she's popular in the West. Would you like to meet up? I'm like, okay. And so I met up with her and the team, and then they were like, we should try and make a video together. And so we made a bunch of videos on her channel, and then we made a bunch of videos on my channel. I beat her in a kanji test, which was kind of cool. And yeah, so I think we're also playing, because she also has a gaming channel, and she wants to like play games with me. One thing though that I can say that's really cool about her especially, and this is one thing that I really appreciate about any type of YouTuber, is that what you see on screen is what she is in real life. Like, that like persona of Kiss and I is not a fake persona, like that's just her. So it's really bizarre when the first time I met her, that she sounded and acted exactly the same way. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, so many people perceive that as a character, and it obviously is. It's like a virtual anime girl. But her personality is exactly the same as in real life. Like, she's not faking any of that stuff. So yeah, she's really cool. And I had a lot of fun collabing with her, because I think that was like the first like proper Japanese YouTuber I'd ever collabed with, if you could call it that. So it was interesting for me because, I had to obviously do an entire video in Japanese with another Japanese speaking person, and then me and my friend translated all of that and wrote subtitles for that, which was hell. Just writing subtitles took like 2 days to do. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah. Thanks for your question.
I will say a couple things first for my question. It's not going to die, no matter what you might say. Someone's going to find it, someone's going to bring it back. Kudos to you for the kanji contest, and zombie ramen, really? But my actual question is, when it comes to the content of YouTube videos, how do you find the balance of trying to keep variety to make the channel interesting and spreading your substance thing?
Boy, there's no answer to that.
Yeah, I think the answer depends on the person.
And it also depends on the type of content you're doing, because if you're a personality content creator, you can do almost anything, unless it's like super out of your wheelhouse. Me, on the other hand, if I'm not doing something that's like analytical, it's rough. So it really depends on which basket you put your eggs in.
It also depends on the person making the content.
That's
Like,
true.
for example, like, you know, I've had plenty of videos that do really, really well, but I don't make it again because it's boring for me. I feel like I had a video that I did years ago that went viral called Every Anime Ever in 4 Words, which is basically people on Twitter send me a bunch of anime titles, and it's my challenge to try and review the show in 4 words. That did really, really well, and people to this day are telling me to do it again. The only reason why I don't do it again is because it's redundant. Like, a video of it already exists, and there are plenty of people who are like, doing similar on their channels. So I'd rather do something completely new because it makes it more interesting for me to make, and more interesting for people to watch. But I also have to be careful that I don't go too out of my way because then I'll alienate a bunch of my viewers. And if that one video that I do which is completely different to the rest of my channel does well and brings in new people, then those new people are going to look at the rest of my channel and be like, oh, this isn't the content that I signed up for. So it's a lose-lose either way, right? So I always aim to always stick with the like anime, manga, otaku theme because that's the basis of my channel. But I think, okay, how far can I take this concept in terms of different types of content? Like, what's the limit that I can go where? Like, where's the threshold between this is anime, manga content and this is just content that mentions anime, manga, but has nothing to do with it? And so, for me, it's a constant struggle every day of like, okay, does this fit on my channel? Does this not fit on my channel? Is this interesting to watch? Is it not interesting to watch? Is it fun for me to make? Or is it not fun for me to make?
You gotta kind of have a thesis. Like, you have to, like, the one thing that Matt always taught me is that you need to be able to sum up your channel in a single thesis sentence. For me, that was culture in gaming. Now I've branched. It's like you said. It's like you can branch out because now it's culture.
You should branch out.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
my opinion.
Because now it's culture in gaming and anime, and occasionally ninjas because people are into that kind of thing. But it's always been focused around education and culture. If I stray from that, then there's no point in being on my channel. How about you, Aki?
Because you're probably the most varietal out of the three.
Yeah.
That's what makes this question so hard. I'm trying to think, like, how did I even think of going to Yellow Cafe one day? I mean, I used to make actually, like, I guess what's the equivalent of top 10s, and going from something that was like a list sort of format then to personality was a huge bridge to cross, and that had to come over time. Luckily, 2 things happened. One, it was very early when I was like just blowing up, and then I had already decided to change things up because if I do, let's say, top 10 Vocaloids for the rest of my time, that decreases very fast because it's like, okay, we've seen this over and over again. So what I did was just slowly integrate my personality into those top 10s. Like, instead of just list format, I showed my face, I did certain things just to have fun with the list, and then eventually I started doing challenges, and then I guess the personality thing happened. After that, I guess the way that I do things now, as Joey said, like, we're kind of like in more of the anime and otaku realm. Like, to be honest, I usually call myself an otaku channel more than an anime channel because I've already spread out to different realms. Like, so you have, like, otaku doesn't just include anime, like, that can include like different otaku culture things that we tend to like to do. Like, some of us may listen to like J-pop or J-rock or even K-pop, rhythm gaming, you know, things like that, so just to have fun with. So I guess it's just sort of taking something that, if you've already been doing it for a while, how can I change this up to expand myself? And then from there, I think you can just naturally, if you want to change completely different in the future, such as Shane Dawson or PewDiePie, who have changed their brand like 3 times in the course of their entire career, it's a slow process that you have to sort of test it out to see how it does. And if it's starting to actually like work, then that's where you'll have like the signal, okay, then this is something that I can deviate away from. So I feel like for gaming,
sorry, but
I
we
think
didn't know.
he basically went to
We
just
I didn't
to show
know.
how
No
he-
one told us.
I'm letting you know now.
Yeah, just to be culture, and now it's just like me